Hello and welcome to the Film Ireland podcast, where we are delighted to be partnering with the Dublin International Film Festival, which runs from the 20th of February to the 2nd of March. Check out diff.ie for the full lineup. And in this podcast, we chat to some filmmakers whose wonderful shorts are screening as part of the shorts programme. Congratulations to everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. DIFF is just such a brilliant festival. It's such an audience festival. I'm just going to ask you to introduce yourself and give us a log line for your film as well, just to kind of ground us in a description. So Táine.
So my name is Táine King. I'm the director of the Wilde Sisters, and the Wilde Sisters is about Oscar Wilde's two half sisters who died tragically in a fire at a house party in Monaghan, and we see them end up in purgatory and trying to grapple through why they can't move on. So
Brilliant. And I like the themes, how it plays out are so well, because it's that sounds so heavy, but it's hilarious.
Thank you. Thank you. I suppose I was giving it a bit of a Beetlejuice vibe, so
I totally call Beetlejuice, especially what happens immediately afterwards and in the processes of it. It's gorgeous, and the production design is just something. And we'll dig into all those meaty technical details. Fatoumata, tell me a little bit about your beautiful film.
So my name is Fatoumata Gandega. I'm the writer director of I Belong. I Belong is a coming of age, talking about a young girl called Ladia. She finds herself in between her two cultures as an Irish Somali individual, going through conflict with her family and people around her. She's just trying to find out who she is as a young, beautiful girl.
It's such a wholesome film, and it's so warm. And I was just wondering a little bit about, we'll go into how everyone got their film made, because I think that's such an interesting process. So this was the National Talent Academy's first credit scene, was it? First credit scheme?
Yeah, it is.
And you would have come from the world of documentary before this? Was there a development element?
So yeah, there was a development through workshops and courses that we had through since June. We had screenwriting workshop, we're working with actors. We had master class as well. We had other courses throughout the program that made us help as emerging artists. We also had, all of us individually, we had mentors, whatever this is in Ireland or in the UK. Me, example, I had a director from Scotland, and I had a producer, her name is Nell Hensley, and we all had different mentors as well throughout this course.
Wow. So, and what has come out of that is something that's so polished and striking and able to go to festivals. That's amazing. And actually what I might do is talk a little bit about, as we're going through the rest, and I'll come back to you, Tanya, as well, about the process of funding and finding the supports, because I think that's again such a wonderful scheme. Sophie. So I was just wondering if you could introduce yourself, introduce your film, and then tell us a little bit about getting it made.
So, hi, I'm Sophie Meehan. So, I'm a filmmaker and interdisciplinary artist. My film is called A Little Bird Told Me. It's about a teenage girl caring for her seriously ill father, and she decides to try and find out whether there's an afterlife. And her way of doing this is by trying to contact Phil Lynott in the afterlife, to try and report back to her dad about what happens after you die. I was also on the first credit short film scheme with Fatoumata as well, that was run by the National Talent Academy. So our screening is a screening of all of the films that were made in those new schemes by the National Talent Academy.
Wonderful. And talk to me about even the development of the script, because I think you've your idea, it begins in quite an abstract way, and there's a lovely slow reveal of what our young protagonist is suffering through and getting at, and the purpose of it. And it's very kind of thoughtful and witty. Talk to me a little bit about coming with the idea to the scheme. Do you arrive with something fully formed, and do they help mold it? Do you, when you imagined it at the time, is it still a similar variation to what it is now?
Thank you. Thanks for the kind words about the film. Yeah, so I came with the application process is you come with a script that's, fully formed as it were, and you come with like a deck and you do an interview process and everything. So it's similar to like how you apply for other funding schemes. But then during the process, like Fatoumata was saying, we got a lot of support. So part of that was script development. So the film actually changed a little bit. Um, but funnily enough, like I have a couple of previous films. So my last film, Young People of Ireland, that was actually written after this one. So this film, A Little Bird Told Me, I've actually been trying to make it for a couple of years. I originally wrote the original idea in actually like a screenwriting evening course during the pandemic, by Colin McKeown, like an online script writing
Yeah.
course. And that was really like the first time I really went into script writing or screenwriting. And then I was lucky enough to meet my amazing producer, Aoife Derwin, and my amazing DP, Carlos Miguel. So then we made my film Young People of Ireland together. But we were really trying to get funding and support to make this film for the last few years. And then only after making Young People of Ireland and having that screened and everything, we got the support to make this one. So it did change a bit during the process. But in terms of the idea, it was something that I've been like had there and been trying to get made for a couple of years.
And those themes, those that kind of like weighty theme, how does like a story like that bring you to it? Is it say an image pops into your head and like how do all those elements of the storytelling kind of find themselves in the script?
So the story is kind of inspired by my own experiences. So unfortunately lost my dad a couple of
So
years
sorry.
ago. So thank you. So I actually wrote this script the first like iterations of it when he was sick. So for a lot of the time for me, I start writing about something and then it kind of just becomes like I think a lot of writers can probably relate to this. Like you think you're writing about something and then suddenly like the thing that is sort of the biggest on your mind or in your life at that time kind of comes up through it. So for me, like, it probably started kind of in a different way and then it became really about this experience of like caring for a parent. And I really wanted to have a film that felt true for me in the experience of caring for a parent because I find a lot of films that are about kind of, end of life, uh, they sort of they don't ring true for me. Like anytime you see it on TV or in film, it's like, oh, suddenly all of the worries melt away and all of these like blocks in your communication with your loved one melt away and you're able to say all these like profound things to each other. And really, it's not like that. Like really, you're just super stressed because you're like running across the city from work to get a bus to go and bring in some washing and then the hospital will like turn you away because visiting hours are over and all of that sort of like stress. So I really wanted to portray that and really like the pressure that comes with. So yeah, but a lot of the time I kind of write from my own experience, but then it comes through a character. So the character of Stevie is, she's a teenager and it just kind of came up that she was trying to find meaning like in a very teenage way of like, she finds meaning through music. She's got a big connection with her dad through music, and then her way of trying to like figure out the big questions of the universe is like, oh, I'll ask Phil Lynott about it. Like so it's kind of inspired as well by some, when I was a teenager, me and my friend used to like pray to Jimi Hendrix and like all this like kind of when music is such a big part of your identity, like that's kind of how she tries to figure it out. So yeah, it's kind of a confluence of a few different things came
It's
together.
beautiful. And that
Thank
you
you.
can really kind of feel that emotion through it. And I think again it goes into it so deftly and lightly in the beginning that it's not overwhelming as well. It's just a lovely journey that you're brought in with these brilliant young actors.
Mm.
So I'll 100% go back to you about that process then. Connor, if you can introduce yourself and your film.
Yeah, I'm Conor McCormick, the writer director of Bunker Baby. The film follows a couple in their late 20s who learn they're going to be parents for the first time while still living in their parents' house. And then one of the characters kind of becomes fixated on a mysterious project that we uncover throughout the journey.
It's lovely, a lovely, fitting, relatable metaphor for sort of losing yourself under the pressures of of modern day life. And it
I think
works
so,
so
yeah.
well. It did so well with in Boyne. I know it got a mention. I know it was very heavily praised. Can you talk to me about the journey in getting it across the line?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we're really thankful to Boyne. So actually submitted the script to their short film competition. So it's a script writing competition where you pitch the project and we got a special mention there. And yeah, they were our kind of main champions, which was great. Gave us a good boost to, put the word out there. So yeah, highly recommend anyone look into the Boyne Valley Film Festival. It's a great festival. Um, but it was, yeah, it's a big project and there's a lot kind of in it in terms of even just productional elements and stuff. So we had to kind of do a lot of funding ourselves. So like myself and great producer Lorcan O'Hanlon, who just kind of believed in it, which was great. And we just saved up, I guess, between us and tried to make it happen. And then just got to fortunately work with great crew who did so much with not a lot. And yeah, just a lot of happy accidents along the way, just kind of got us over the line and stuff. So kind of one of those things where I don't know how we did it, but yeah, we got there in the end.
And in terms of script, like it's such a like it is such a brilliant metaphor. It works so well for the like again the predicament that our young protagonist is in. Talk to me about, how you wrote it, where the idea came from.
Yeah. Well, I was living away. I was living in London for a couple of years and just trying to focus a bit more on directing because I was working as a camera assistant over there, which is great. But then just trying to, I don't know, come back home and look at like what are the potential options, and there kind of ended up being no options, and that was kind of a ubiquitous theme across everyone. Like I suppose in a scene from like right into their 30s, so it was really prevalent. And I guess similar to what Sophie was saying, is you don't realize these things are what's on the forefront of your mind until you kind of put it down. And so this sort of like pressure cooker environment just kind of came about these characters. Um, and then the metaphor itself kind of came like a few years ago. The first film I wrote was with a amazing writer, Nicholas Nessens, who's one of those people who would like forget a better idea than you ever could come up with yourself. Just kind of like offhandedly throwing things around while on a completely different project was sort of toying around with an idea of a very specific image that is like the end of the film that I won't get into. And that just sort of left it like a really uh big mark on me for years. And it was just like that image that kind of everything unfurled out from, and then only realized then, like as I was starting to develop these characters and their situation, that that kind of place is where it might end up. So it's a bit vague, but it's the ending, I suppose. So yeah, that's really where it came about.
And what I love about your journey is, and Tanya will get into yours too, because I think it's so tricky getting films across the line when you don't have fiscal supports, and then like and this is the thing about schemes, like the amount of pure talent that exists out there. You're competing, you don't know why you don't get picked. It might be a multitude of reasons. Like sometimes it's just there's so many good options. But like what I love is you persevered. So talk to me about like how that decision came to be and like what that was like.
Yeah, so like as you try and there's not that many options out there, and as you say, there's some just really great work. So it's completely understandable. But we really believed in the script, like the kind of core team that came around it initially. Like I said, the producer Lorcan O'Hanlon, the editor Brendan Corcoran, and the composer Edward O'Mahony were kind of people I was starting to work with like early days, and we knew it was something that like we're going to try make happen regardless. And I think it was just a bit of a blind faith of just like, okay, let's press on like as though we could potentially make this thing, and just be as like stringent as possible when it comes to budget. And eventually, like a year later, after saving and stuff, and waiting around for a few options, we just decided like, okay, we all still fully believe in this, and we think there's something there. So we decided like, let's try and make it happen. And yeah, so it was around like October 2023. I was just like, all right, let's just go for it. So then we just trying to put some production stuff in place. One, I think the biggest thing was like finding a location that would allow us to do the necessary. So we dig a small hole. It was initially small in our primary location. So I was like, okay, let's start there. Let's see, does that location exist? Do these magic homeowners who wouldn't care if you dig in their garden exist? And like, let's use that as a jumping off point. And they existed in the end. So we just started there. And then once that kind of fell into place, we knew we were definitely going to go for it. So yeah, it was a lot of perseverance, as you say, but really happy we did.
Oh, it's brilliant. And again, like it's the production design is so spectacular. Or like really works because again, it's a concept. The performances are really nice, but it's very funny and like
Yeah.
those beats all hit, which is wonderful. Tanya, so you didn't make things easy on yourself. You had special effects, period elements,
Yeah.
fantasy, um, like huge big production designs, just and like interwoven into this sort of lovely story. Talk to me about your journey in getting that. Actually, first, I actually want to go back to the script. And
Yeah.
Fatoumata, I'm going to do that to you as well because I do find it interesting where all these stories come from. In terms of like, okay, this is a heightened piece of history. These two sisters that are known in Monaghan, and you introduce them to the world in this story, and in this brilliant way. But first, like, talk to me about where their interpersonal dynamics comes from, and how you have something kind of so authentic there.
Um, well, actually, like there's very little known about the Wilde sisters. There's sort of like talk around Monaghan of these two sisters that died in Drumaconnor House, like out the Clonus Road. So then, like I came across a very small article that just briefly told about the Wilde sisters at a house party, and one of the sisters' dresses caught fire, and then the other sister ran to her and tried to put it out, but her dress caught fire. Um, so I started researching it, and I got on to some of the local historians, and I was getting loads of different little nuggets. Um, so I sort of put a story together, and then originally like I had this probably maybe 4 years ago when I started the story, and then my friend Lorraine Higgins, we both sat down and we come up with ideas, and we started to write bits and pieces. And then we were both so busy with our own work because like I work in the film industry. We brought in Joe Heffernan to write. So Joe put a big bulk of it together, and then we worked on that. And then we sort of just like all of us were so busy, and it just takes so long to finish things and get things done when you're trying to work and earn a living. Um, and then I got the final draft then of Joe, and then I changed just for production, like I'm being able to shoot it, and also the argument at the end. It needed to be much more sort of vicious, so I rewrote bits of it. So yeah, so that was like all three of us sort of just from the basis of a story that I had researched. But it was really important to me because I just couldn't believe that like the two girls, like we hear so much about the Wildes and Oscar Wilde, and even his half brother is like his half brother like ran his father's hospital and was educated and was like he like was out in the open, but for some reason, because the two girls were girls, I suppose they were hidden away in Monaghan and sent away. So and the church that they're buried in, like there wasn't even a gravestone for a very long time. But the Wilde Society in Monaghan County Council, I think back in the 90s, put a headstone in. So I just thought it was just so sad that like they were just completely forgotten about, So that's why I really wanted to write something, but write something that was sort of my style too, which is like quite visually like impactful, but also like a little bit of humor mixed with like, because I love dark comedies, but it was my first time sort of like writing something like this. Like, so it was, yeah, that's where it all started, really. Yeah.
And there's a real strong emotional arc there that's so traditionally, that Irish family dynamic, the golden boys,
Mm.
like the deny, 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 head in the sand.
Yeah.
And then you have like the one person who's dubbed as overly emotional, kind of taking all the hits. Like it's such that kind of classic unhealthy family dynamic, but it just there in the background, and it really, like, what it is it's a visual spectacle. It's funny, it's quick, there's that, but there's that kind of like emotional truth underneath it, so that you're invested for the whole time.
Yeah. I know because I suppose like even when I was writing the argument, like I said to Joe, the writer, I was like, oh, it just needs to that argument needs to be more vicious, like, nearly like you might not come back from it after Sisters because you really just spill everything out. And I was like, oh, how do have you ever argued like with your friends? She's like, no, we don't really argue. And I was just like, well, I've experience in this, so like the argument for me was easy to write, but yeah, it's that I wanted that sort of relationship where one sister is very much in denial and the other sister is just like like doesn't really care, is just happy still being a bit tipsy from the party and just ignoring her sister, and she sort of gets irritated with her throughout it, where she constantly corrects people because in their story their father changed their name on their death certificate from Wilde to Wiley, and because he was a doctor he had connections then with the coroners, and they got their names changed so nobody had ever discovered them. And I was just like, I wanted to make sure that all those pieces that there was actually factual and evidence of was all sort of woven like into the story, so that the story is like authentic, but obviously there's very little known about them. So I had to make up a little world of like, how do we tell this story um with like with them actually being alive and confronting everything that was about their life. So I'm a big Beetlejuice, both Ghostbusters, like all of those movies
Yeah.
as a kid growing up. So yeah, that's where I went with the direction then.
And so if Monaghan went on board for post, and like that's your fires and your cool and your beautiful grade and final piece, but in terms of like that production is a big production. Those locations are incredible. Talk to me about,
Yeah.
yeah, the like getting it ready to shoot.
It was, I was, because I'm a standby art director, and I've worked in art departments for years. So it was coming up to the writer's strike, and I was on a film in Dublin, and they were all SAG actors as well, so I knew it was eventually going to get shut down, and I was prepping the whole way through the film, just waiting for that day where we were told like the film was like shut down.
That is
Um,
brilliant.
yeah, so it's like so I was just prepping the whole time, so I'd be nearly ready to shoot, but the thing is like the location where I built all of the purgatory sets was in my grandfather's old furniture factory, like it's like practically derelict, it's but I needed somewhere that like I could just go in and build walls and like spray paint and
Yeah.
like because I did think about locations, but then I was like, I'm not going to find anywhere quirky enough for purgatory. So when the film shut down, we were finished with certain sets, and I basically Susie Cullen, who's the production designer, I asked Susie, could I take some pieces, whatever was being thrown in the skip, and there was like paneled walls, and actually the receptionist's desk was actually the theater the theater piece in Abigail, the movie, the vampire movie.
Yeah.
So her stage, that I actually cut it in half and I turned it into the reception area and sprayed it blue, and all the paneling on the walls. And then Nikki McManus, who's another construction manager, they were on the tourist, and I rang Nikki and I was like, you throwing anything in the skip? And he was like, well, if you're here with a van tomorrow morning. So, and then whatever, I just pulled panels out. And so basically I filled over about 2 weeks. I got 3 van loads and brought it all up to the factory. And then I just laid everything out and I was like, right, I'll build the sets from everything that I could get my hands on,
Wow.
for free. So I would say with the 3 vans, like to buy the stuff that I actually that was being thrown in the skip. All the sustainable managers were all very delighted that I was taking all these pieces, and then I actually used a lot of them again then for my second short. But that's what I did, and then my friend owns a paint shop, got a spray painter, and because I was sort of going like very just solid colors for all of the rooms, so it felt like they were in a different world or a different place each time. And then I just went in and I just spray painted everything. One color because I didn't have time. I didn't have time. So I just went in and sprayed everything. And then there was bits of furniture left in the factory. And then the red room, or the Death Master's room, there must have been like about 30 old doors. And I just, like, me and my uncle, who helped me build all the sets, we just nailed them all onto the walls. And yeah, it was probably like, and it was my uncle that, like, I would draw out the plans and I'd be like, oh, I just want this here and this here. And then whenever he had a day off, he'd come up and he was building it. And then I'd come back down from Dublin and I'd check. And so, yeah, it was a lot. Like it's like, when I look back on it, like, I don't know how I got it all done, but it got done. It got done. And the location for the actual house is Bestmont House in Monaghan, which is a house I knew about. A lot of people don't know because it's a private home. But it's I remember seeing it years ago. Because my background's in photography and I was going to use it for a photo shoot. And then when I wanted to write this film, the original house where the girls died is still there, but it's been modernized. And also, I wanted to go with that big sort of Tim Burton sort of like
Yeah.
gothic-y sort of feel, and the house was perfect for it. And Daisy, the owner, the inside of it is all still period, and she keeps everything like, so I did like that. For me, like, design and everything wise wasn't difficult because it was already there. It was just bringing in some oil lamps and things. And then because I work with so many people on set, like special effects, like Paul from Scorpion special effects gave me bags of snow. So I was like putting snow on the front of the house because they like what there was elements of the story that I wanted to make sure I didn't lose. Like there was rumors that the girls were put out into the snow to try and put out the fire. So I wanted all of those elements in it. But yeah, so I didn't exactly make things easy for
Easy
myself.
for yourself, not even a tiny bit. And I was going to say, I could not believe when I was watching it and you kind of went more into the house. I was like,
Mhm.
oh, we see it from the outside. I was like, that's clever because that's clever sound design in the beginning. And then actually, when we went inside, I was like, oh my God,
Yeah,
that's
I know
such a
because
detailed amount of production
because
design.
when we actually started to shoot, that was the first thing we shot was the girls on the stairs and everything. And we were on, like, really, for the girls, they done such a great job performance wise, just because I didn't give them an awful lot of time. I shot this whole thing in like 2.5 days. We done one night shoot and then we done a day and a half. Because we just didn't have the money to have everybody up in Monaghan. So the girls really, if I was to change anything, it would be to try and get more time so that, like, I could give the girls another chance. There was times we just had to move on, and one of those was at the very start. Like, we just had to move on because we had to get into the nighttime stuff. But I really wanted to use the interiors, and they just worked so much better rather than the actual scene. And it was too long as well, so I needed to cut it down. and they actually just worked so much better as flashbacks and visuals than they actually worked as a scene. So yeah, and it was nice to bring the audience into the house so that you sort of got a sense of what happened before the fire. So yeah, it was great to have that location, and the guys were amazing. And one thing everybody says is like, oh my God, the location's great. So that's why I wanted to open with that big tracking shot, like, so
Oh,
everybody got a sort of feel for the house.
I love
such an
the opening
achievement.
shot. It's
Oh, thank you.
yeah, it's beautiful, especially because like the start, you don't realize what's going on, like the way that you did the opening shot with the fire starting and then the sound design and it all just like one continuous like panning. It was
Yeah.
really nice way to open it.
Him as well. Like I had in my head, I need to ask her, where is it? I need to visit this this castle. It looks fantastic. It looks like in Harry Potter, like
Yeah.
fantasy, like castles. I think, wow, actually it does exist in Ireland. I need to go.
Yeah, I know, and it's mad. It is a private home, like, but the guys live mostly in the back of the house, and they keep the front very sort of um period, you know. But it's yeah, no, it's an amazing house, and just even like the big sort of gargoyle lions and everything at the front, and the steps were really important for me because I needed a house with steps because it was told that the girls come out and down the steps and into the snow, and I just had that big wide shot in my head that you see the whole house and them sort of coming out. So having steps at the front of the house was because I had looked at other houses around Monaghan, that were really like big grand houses like Hilton Park and stuff, but they didn't have that big step entrance, you know. So
God, but fantastic work. And Fatoumata, I really want to get into your script. And so coming from it, was this like okay, so you've worked as a programmer in documentary, you would have watched a lot of short films. Would you be kind of quietly writing in the background the whole time, or would this have been something you put together? Okay, talk to me about where the idea came from, and then a little bit about what the development process was like.
Like honestly, it's my first script ever. Like
Wow.
I learned on the go. Like back in December 2023, my friend told me, "Oh, this scheme is coming up. You better apply." And I'm like, "Oh wow, hold on." And it's my friend Ala. She always pushed me to like get out of my comfort zone. And I was in her studio this December, just writing down on her window the idea that I got. Like in my heart, I was like, "What do I want to say to myself, to people like me in the future, what I want to leave behind, like in my life, and like what I want to say um, within my heart, and like the team belonging just like comes back and forth in my work. It is as well in my two previous documentaries, and like. But the tricky things was to make it like accurate to the because we're here in Ireland. So I'm a French. I'm based here. It's been 3 years, and I have no blood related to Ireland. I'm here on my own. There's no one in my family here. So I was like, okay, I have an idea of talking about belonging, but how can I make it relatable for Irish people who might watch this short like in the future. So I had the idea of make it like of my character being Irish, at the same time make research about oh, what's the amount of people, of like Muslim people here in Ireland? What is the nationality that comes like the most in the statistic? So I find out through friends it was Somali. I'm not Somali. So I'm making research about like ethnic background, about how the house are, because we are in the same continent, but we are both Muslim country. I'm from Mauritania, but we're both opposites. We're like thousands kilometers away. And and like just the research like probably took 2 weeks, honestly. And I went back home in Paris, like searching about how to write a script short, sorry, a short film, And I just saw a video, if you don't write it down, it doesn't exist. I was like, okay, I felt gaslighted. All right, fair enough. I'm gonna write it down. So the first draft took 3 days. I just like how to write down through final draft, how to use final draft 12, and I just like write it down. But yeah, the tricky things was to make it as more relatable possible. Because the scenes with the neighbors, I was like, oh, do Irish people welcome people this way? Uh, would Irish people get someone that they don't know a lot in the house? How would be interaction from like neighbors in Ireland in general? And like what make it easier? Like um, some most of the scenes are true
Yeah.
from my own perspective, from my family perspective, from my community perspective. And unfortunately, like you're someone who has with your intersectionality, me as a Black Muslim woman, just like navigating through life with hardship, like you just want to mind your business, but unfortunately, um, like bigotry exists, racism
Yeah.
exists, people who are ignorant exist, or just like within your own community, not finding belonging. Like I'm someone that don't speak my own, like I won't say mother tongue, but the mother tongue of my parents. And I had a hard time when I was back in Mauritania. My my sorry, my family's is from there. Just finding being relatable within my own family and finding like isolated because uh we don't speak the same language, even though like we come from this, we're the same blood, but like I'm too like there's the difference of because I'm Western, I'm too Western for them, or not like uh not Mauritanian enough. So just finding yourself in between and just like, okay, I'm neither French enough for people in France, I'm neither Mauritanian enough for people in within my own family. So this is something you live within your life and just like get through it. And I wanted to write something about that.
It's beautiful. And I think, yeah, that you really get like the heart and the warmth from it and like the welcome. I think about belonging and you get, this is like welcoming, like someone finding their place, coming of age, that in a very, very powerful way. And then talk to me about like as you were writing the script, sending it into the scheme and getting the feedback, did anything change for you? Like did the way you see it change, or was it more about getting what was in your head on the page?
Mm. Ah, that's a good question. So like first up with my the draft when I applied, like honestly in my head I was just being delusional when I applied. I said like I'm gonna get it no matter what.
Delulu is the Salulu.
Yeah.
I delusional. Anyway, so what changed a bit was just like the big huge scene with the neighbor, like it was so complicated to write it down. I probably read it down probably 5, 6 times. Even like during a rehearsal, like when I saw the actors doing the scene, I was like, something is off. Like I don't like it. And I just like put the task out. I wanted this script to be as most relatable of people like me, and as well like I didn't want to write something sad, and I just want something realistic enough and with some storytelling and very something emotional that people can relate to, like with family like figures and then community figures. So I think the main thing just like things change mostly during the shooting. I think because we had like issues with like location and stuff, so I had to change a tiny bit. But from the first script to the final draft, nothing much have changed. Like the core base was I wanted to write that something that um, people. I really want to write something that okay, if someone sit down and watch it as funny relatable, this is a win. this is the only thing that I wanted to reflect on, like how emotionally the the actors were able to convey the sentiment of belonging.
Yeah, and again, I think this is what's really interesting about you is like it really was your first credit. This was your first script, and then I I think something changes when you give it to the actors. Like they bring something else to it entirely. What was it like seeing your words read out like for the first time ever and then like shooting it, like capturing it on film?
I cried 4 times between the shot, honestly. Like I was so emotional to see it convey. So my female lead like is not Muslim, she's Christian actually. And like for me, Dami, she was honestly the best. Like from all like the casting that I got, like she was honestly the best that could convey it. As like I was with my producer, I said, should we take someone Muslim but we're not able to convey it, or we take someone that is not and nail it on the camera? I said, we'll take someone that can nail it on the camera. And like we shot it for a bit for 2 days in September. It was I felt so emotional, more than I expected. Like I felt like those 4 days, like I felt like we're the tiny family, like just going around from a location to another. And then like my main goal was to provide a set where everyone was comfortable. I got input from everyone from the crew, helping with the lights and whatsoever. Because yes, I know I'm a emerging filmmaker, but I like to learn from each one other. I'm not the one, okay, I am the teacher in set, I know everything. I like to have feedback from the actors and from the crew, and like having like a collaborative set was really fulfilling, honestly. And I had people who had no film school background, and I have people from IEDT. So it was a mix of people who could get feedback from each other.
Is this going to be your first time watching it with an audience? So like
Oh yeah,
when you
yes,
sit
yes,
down for the
yeah.
festival, because that's like that's a big thing as well.
It's gonna be crazy. Like my mom and my sister is flying from France to watch it, so shaking in my boots. Like I'll have the main cast, my 5 actors coming. I'll have my crew coming as well. So it's gonna be a big thing. I'm very frightened and excited at the same time.
Because it's a big audience, like it's a big screen, it's big. Like you'll be watching it, I'd say, like these things, like a lot of the time they sell out. That it's
It
that's
is sold out. It
It
is.
it is.
got
It's
sold
sold out
Yeah,
out.
can't
already.
even
Oh
get
my
a ticket
God.
to it. It's sold out.
It got sold out in less than 24 hours. I am still
Yeah,
doing
it
double
was sold out nearly the first day. So
Oh wow.
those.
So that's gonna be a big, like that's a big
no
first.
pressure.
No pressure, but it's really exciting. Like
Yeah,
you get to like share your own personal thoughts and feelings that were in your mind last December, like with an audience. Like that's the with a screen of like 200 plus people.
like I don't know, it's gonna be crazy. And the Q&A are like, I hope they're gonna ask like chill out questions. And it's like, but it's gonna be amazing. We're gonna have fun. We're gonna hug everyone. Sophie, I'm excited to see you. It's gonna be so cool.
I'm so excited too. We've all been
Oh,
in the
yeah, no, it's
trenches
gonna be a
together
blast.
in this process. It's been an amazing process, this and the support we've gotten from the National
I know
Talent
I'm gonna
Academy has been
cry.
great.
Yeah.
All of the
Oh,
different elements of it. But yeah, it's going to be a really special event to be screened with everybody else that's been in this scheme with us from the start. And yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be special.
Oh,
yeah, it's been a journey for me for 13 months, so it's like it's very emotional to see. I won't say end because we're gonna apply to other festivals, but just like where like
oh,
yeah.
that's its whole other journey. That's a
Yeah, that's
whole
another
other
process.
like
It's another step.
expensive
Thinking about
mountain
it
of
next
like
month.
paperwork
But
and marketing and things. But like, we'll save that. Enjoy this one.
I'll save it for next
Savor
month.
it. Like, God, that's
Yeah.
like it must be so exciting. Like, especially when it's your first one. So you've done very exciting things. So this is, but I mean, again, this is something so beautiful and so personal. And it must feel as well like if you're going on a journey with with like a team alongside you when you're all doing your own individual projects. Did you find like you connected with all the other filmmakers and the National Talent Academies?
Yeah, like honestly, like as I said, we started the scheme in June, and like we met almost every month. We had a lot of events, either online or in Galway or Dublin. So we met quite often throughout the scheme. We have a group chat as well. The fact that we are all working class, marginalized filmmaker created like a bond, and honestly, like I do understand why like Sophie and Rory, which is the other person from the scheme who got the 7,000, were because these were powerful stories to be that are not told in a bigger screen and must be told, especially like for the future generation needs to have like stories like that on screen.
It's so important for, again, this is it, that the next generation of filmmakers, there's such a kind of like exciting pool coming up through the ranks that I'm looking forward to watching everyone's work and what you do next as well. But like before this, okay, I'm gonna ask everyone one question about like their post-production process. Like really, what I'm gonna do, Sophie, is talk to me about editing this. The way we see this, your beautiful film on screen, was that always the way you had envisioned it shot for shot? Did anything shift in the edit? And in terms of finding the pacing of the beats, um, what was that like? Like, was there a minute maybe when you put your like, like your collection of scenes together and went, or like, could you see it be pieced together? Because again, you've done this, or like, had you done it before by the time you got into the edit? I know you were kind of working on the two projects.
So this is it's actually my third film. So the first film I made was a film I made shot it in a day in my friend's airing cupboard, and it was a very, very lo-fi kind of thing. That film's called Monday to Friday Person. And then the first time I did like a full process, we'll say, was Young People of Ireland, which was self-funded. And so I worked with the same editor, Lynn Hansen, on this one. But yeah, the process was a bit different. I was really lucky enough to, through the National Talent Academy's mentorship on this scheme, to have mentorship in post-production from Frank Berry, one of my favorite filmmakers. And he really helped with kind of, I suppose, like helping me to like trust myself and trust that he said some really insightful things. He was kind of like, you've done most of the work already in casting these kids and in the way that you've directed it. Like, he really helped me to kind of pare back the editing actually and to let those performances breathe and to slow it down. And like, I've been a big fan of Frank Berry for a long time and I really love his style of having kind of like um slow shots. I love slow cinema. I love like simple edits, and he really helped to kind of give me the confidence really to pare it back and let those performances breathe, because the relationship between like the dad and Stevie is really the center of the film, and the performances that Ella Rooney and Alan Devine, who plays the dad, created, they're just so beautiful. Like that, really, the job that we had in the edit was really just letting those breathe and letting them shine. And I think, yeah, Frank Berry was really helpful in that, to just like, give me that insight and that confidence to be like, just let it let it be and let it breathe. And I think that's when it really broke through to being like the film that I wanted it to be, when we just really let it play more.
The even in terms of then like the sound elements, did you find anything kind of shifted emotionally for you as you were bringing in certain pieces, certain performances? Like I love the shot with the birds. How did you was that stock footage or did you get the birds?
Yeah, that was stock footage. Yeah, I
It's hard to
actually
get those
walked.
birds.
I know, yeah, it's hard to get them to do what you want. I actually walked past a bird on a telephone line the other day, and I was like, God, if only that had been there, like it would have saved a lot of money. But yeah, it was that bit was stock footage, and then the sound design. Yeah, I really, it's very emotional to watch it for the first time when the sound design and the score really came together. So I was really lucky enough to have an amazing team on that. So the sound design is by Oscar Freeney and the score is by Tracy McAvoy. Tracy McAvoy did music for Young People of Ireland as well, and she's amazing. She's really a unique composer. She uses a lot of like electronic elements and a lot of like analog electronic elements. So I really wanted, music is so spiritually important in the film, and I really I'm a big fan of filmmakers like Joanna Hogg who use music in a certain way and use it kind of sparingly. Like I really like to let the dialogue, again, because the central performances in the film are so kind of raw and powerful that I really wanted to let them breathe and then have music be kind of you know, for to not lead the audience too much. So yeah, me and Tracy had a process together, and then the things that she came up with were just beautiful, and we really used a lot of like imagery, like she created these electronic textures that kind of recall like waves and ripples, and like there was even one sample that she sent me that I was like, oh my God, it sounds like a bird flapping their wings. So like she kind of layered together all these different elements that kind of related to the imagery in the film, and then when you layer them all together, and then the stuff that Oscar did as well, it added so many layers, and I really feel like it gives it a lot of depth. Like there's all these sort of sounds that you might not even pick up on the first time watching it, like sounds of heartbeats, sounds of like boats creaking on water, sounds of like deep underwater. So the imagery in the film for me is really um the central idea of the imagery is like the sea and the sky and that kind of spiritual level. Even when I was writing the script, that is really central to me, that like we on Earth are on this kind of level in between the sea and the sky, and we really don't know what's beyond. We don't know what's at the bottom of the sea, and we don't know what's beyond the sky. So, yeah, the sound design really brought that all together, and it's just like beautiful. I'm really, really happy with the work that they did.
It's gorgeous. And then actually working with those actors. How did you find your actors and how did you get those performances from them?
Well, yeah, so facing into it was kind of like Fatoumata said, you always have to like be slightly out of your depth and out of your comfort zone when you're making something, and that's kind of how you know you're in the right direction. But I was pretty terrified directing first time actors and like but I'm so happy with what came out. So we found Ella Rooney, who is the central actor who plays Stevie. It's her first ever performance. And she's just amazing in it. So it was really, really important to me to have I don't really like the phrase non-actor, but I really wanted to have like first time actors and like real kids, so to say, like that live in the area that the story is set in. I'm from Inchicore, and we looked around like Drimna, Crumlin, Inchicore, those sort of areas. We got in touch with youth clubs. And then we eventually just put up like posts on like local Facebook groups asking parents to send in like a little introduction video of um, the young people just introducing themselves. So then we had an audition in like a local community center, and we found Ella. And like as soon as she came in, really, it's I love every part of directing, but there's something so special about directing performances, and one of the moments that is so special is when you meet the character for the first time in the audition room, and it's really important to me to have like in-person auditions and just that magical moment when you meet the character for the first time through the actor. And really, when Ella started, she just had this amazing like depth, and you could just feel that she was really feeling everything, and there was a lot going on behind her eyes, and she had this real kind of sense of like stillness that I really wanted for the character. So yeah, we were just incredibly lucky to find her, and I'm very, very thankful to her parents as well, Nicola and Patrick, who really trusted us, and you know, it was a very close relationship throughout the process. And I just want to also give credit to Alan Devine, who played the dad, for how great he was at working with Ella as well, of like making her comfortable with working her first time on film, and the relationship that they created together. And he was really the perfect person to cast, because not only did he give so much attention to his role and his backstory and the way that he embodied the dad, but he also really he's used to working with young people. He does some like theater work with young people, so he was really just the perfect person to have for a first time actor and the relationship that they built up together. We had a 1 day long rehearsal, and that was really key in getting them comfortable together. So big shout out to him as well for really helping bring that performance out of her as well.
There's a strong warmth to him.
Then we also had Owen, or sorry, we had so we also had Callum Kelty, who has been in a couple of films before, um, and he was also amazing. So very lucky to have known him through Aoife Derwin, my producer. She had had him in a film before. And then the trick-or-treaters were like family of the producer. So
They were
yeah,
great.
but
They
people
were really
say,
funny.
yeah, they were all amazing. Like the people say you should never work with children and animals. And like, I honestly think there has been moments in the post-production where I was watching their performances just going like, oh my God, this is incredible. The scene with the cat, like the cat is honestly one of the best actors I've ever worked with. Like he is amazing. Yeah, there were moments when I was watching Ella, who plays Stevie, and the cat, like their performance together. And I was like, wow, this is so moving. Like the cat is like, he's just on his own thing. Like I'm not directing this cat. He's just there's a moment in the film where I don't know, I don't want to give it away, but there's just like, yeah, I was very, very moved, to be honest, with the cat performance. So the cat wrangler is called Laura Murphy from Waggy Mama's Agility, and her little cat, Kit, she's trained him. You can look up on like Instagram, there's like videos of him playing the piano and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, everybody was very worried about the cat, and I just trust Aoife, and Aoife trusts me. And in the end, the cat ended up giving such a profound performance, and also the children like just yeah, I'm really 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 glad that I stuck by my guns to use like kids from the area. And uh yeah, I'm really proud of the performances. They're really special.
It's great. It's gorgeous. Okay, so we have a few minutes left. I want, Tanya, I really want to talk about your post-production and like and again how you found support for that. I think that's very interesting in terms of like I presume you just showed people your incredible footage and then people just handed you a check, was it? They went, how
Um,
on earth? Here is some money. Slap our name on that.
well, I suppose like to get the film made, like when you go for funding, and we went to a few different funding bodies, but obviously it was my first short. I'd done documentary and I'd done fashion films and content for brands and stuff before, but you're like basically you're starting from scratch. Um, so when you sort of go in asking for money and you say that you're going to shoot a period short film and you're setting people on fire and you're going to build sets and there's like it's like who are you? So the money doesn't like exactly flow in. So I knew it was going to be difficult to fund it. So I crowdfunded 9 grand. I knew I was going to need that just to cover expenses really. But because I work with so many amazing Irish crew, like they all just came on board. My DOP Carol, she's been in the industry for like nearly 20 years as, focus puller, and it's like she's come up through the ranks in the camera, and now she's like camera operator, and she's cinematographer, and like she was amazing. Like she was basically like my biggest support on set. So like she had her crew, they come up, and then the grips that I've worked with, they sent a truck because I wanted to do this tracking shot, and we were trying to find ways of like, how can I do this tracking shot without any equipment, or a dolly or anything like so. I was very lucky that the grip truck just turned up and it had a jib arm and they set it all up and Carol was on the wheels. And it was amazing. I was just like, I couldn't believe it. Like we were going to get this lovely shot. So I just had all this crew that basically I gave them expenses from the crowdfunders. Very hard to get people up to Monaghan. Everybody's in Dublin. They all had to drive. accommodation. I couldn't even get accommodation in Monaghan. So like I was putting people up in people's houses and people were fine with that. So actually getting it shot was really was difficult, but we got it done. And then Monaghan Creative came on board in Monaghan County Council and they'd like, heard what I was doing and they'd obviously seen stuff online and I had a meeting with them. So then they gave me money towards finishing the film. I knew it was going to have to get into festivals and the thing is, when I went into post production, the my producer that had come on board, Una's Plan, um, we had put an assembly together, and then we started working on the edit. And Una had set up Element Post, who that she works with all the time, and Karina Sullivan is the head of post in Element. And the Element looked at the film, and they were like, "We'd like to take this film on." I was
Amazing.
just like, oh my God, thank God. And I was very lucky then to have the guys from Glass Night VFX. They were there on the night. We shot plates, we done balls and charts, like, because we shot a plate of the window so that they built all of the fire up inside the window in that opening shot. And then they done all the fire elements, they done sky, they filled in more snow for me because of course, like I put the snow out and like Paul, he was like the special effects guy, he's like, listen, you need to wet the area down, put the snow down, but he's like, just make sure that like if it rains, it'll wash away. And as soon as it was dry all day, as soon as I put the snow down, it started to rain. And
Typical.
I mean, it lashed like everybody ran for cover and this half the snow was gone. And I only had a few bags of like of it. So then the guys come in and they filled in snow for me, which was like the hours of work that they put into the VFX was actually insane. And it was very stressful for them too, because I was in Element and we were like the transfer file, like they're huge. So post was a bit stressful. My editor then, Julian, he's in London. I was overshooting in London at the time, and I met Julian through a friend, and he was just brilliant. And like I'd be on set and he'd be like talking on the phone back and forth, and I'd be sending notes, and he was brilliant. But I actually got to the point where the film was nearly picture locked, and then I showed it there's just something was just not sitting right with me at all, and I just didn't feel like when you just have that, it's just like just I don't know, it's just not there, but it's there, but it's not there. And I showed it to a friend, and because I had a completely different opening shot, I had the whole scene at the start where the girls are talking on the stairs and everything, and
And you can be working on something so long as well. You're like, am I even seeing it? Do you know?
yeah.
Like sometimes it can just be that level of intensity at that point.
Yeah, and also like when like you basically nearly died trying to make that film, like it's very hard to let certain scenes and things go. But like as all producers be saying to me, you have to kill your babies. If it's not working, get it out. And I showed it to a friend and they're just like, I don't know, like it sort of like tore it apart. And I needed that because I had to rethink the film and I was working with a director at the time, James Griffith, and I was telling him and he watched it and he rang me and he was like, I think you're being really hard on yourself here. But like I said, I think I have to change the start and I think I'm going to open with actually the tracking shot and just leave the audience in a bit of like suspense and then cut into the purgatory then and let them figure out where we are. And I was just like, it was all the interior scenes that I just didn't, I was heartbroken losing them because they were so beautiful and with these beautiful vintage lenses um and I just I loved the energy in there, but we just didn't get enough takes. Um but the argument, because we went handheld, and it's quite a long argument. It was actually James said, why don't you see if it works? Why don't you bring some of those shots in as flashbacks as when the girls are arguing? And I did need to break up the argument because it's quite a long argument. And like because it was handheld, there's like certain moments that that sort of actually cut into something else
And that
really
actually
helped.
increases the emotional impact of that like exponentially.
yeah, it like
Like
it,
really
like
cool.
it just, and I'm so glad I did just sort of let it be ripped apart, and then sort of like, so it was a brand new edit. So Julian, God love him, like his patience with the saint, like he like we went back and we done it again, and like I was much happier with it then. And then a friend of mine, music wise, the song at the end is like, it was a band. They're not together anymore. They're Blackbird and Crow, but I, Maria the singer, like I love her voice, and because I wanted all the accents to be sort of like Monaghan accents as well, and she's like they're from Donegal, and she's got this gorgeous like tone, like this lovely northern tone to her voice. And the song also, Macushla, is like my pulse, my heartbeat, which I thought was really fitting for the sisters. And then Nikki Moss come in and done the sound design. And I'd worked with Nikki on a good few films before that I'd like produced and line produced and stuff. So he works with Element too sometimes. So he came in and he done that, and then Natalia in Element like had done the grade, and she was incredible. So like the post production was because Element just made it so easy. Like they're just so super to work with. If you ever get a chance to work with them, it's just coming in and seeing your film on their screens, and they manage everything so well. And I had put so much pressure on the VFX team I was working with that there was tiny little cleanup things that really just needed to be done, but it would take hours to do it. And Elements VFX team come in and help clean up little things. And like I just couldn't have asked
And
for any.
just to flag them in case people are Googling them, their first element, they've just slightly
Yes,
rebranded. So
sorry.
people might go, oh, Element, and be like, no, that's Element Pictures. And then there's
Yes,
first Element
first Elements
production because
post production.
they're
Yeah.
absolutely brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was so lucky to have them. And then for the music, my friend Ronnie, he done the music, like, like Ronnie's an amazing musician, and I wanted to go with that sort of traditional Irish music, and John Ryan's polka, like everybody's familiar with it and know it's like the one in Titanic. Um Down in third class, the Irish party. But it's also of the period. So but I also, when they went to Purgatory, I wanted it to be like waiting room music, but everybody that's sitting in the room hears whatever music that sort of tortures them. So I got Ronnie to restyle it into like elevator music.
Mhm.
So that took a little bit of work. But it was like, and then she plays it on the piano as well. So you're constantly hearing the song that they died to. Um, so yeah, that like post production was tough, but I was so lucky that Una, like my producer, gave us that introduction to First Element, and Karina in there, and Natalia. And First Night, the VFX guys, I can't recommend them enough. They were just super. They were so helpful. Like I even on the shoot, like I'd ask questions. Do you think we need this? And they were just like, no, that's fine. We can do this. And like they were super. So yeah, it was. I didn't realize post production would be as stressful and take as long, because I shot in August, and basically I like we were finishing the film with the latest deadline to send to Galway. Um, so yeah.
It is, isn't it? There's so much to every single thing, and it's also reliant on what's come before it. But Connor, we're oh my God, we've gone so over time. I really want to talk to you about your pacing, about finding those comedic beats, especially in yours, because you've set it up and you have like a kind of emotional intensity underneath. Um, was this something that took a while to tease out?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a real big balancing act and lots of experimentation in the edit. So I'd been like drafting away for a good while, I guess maybe like the guts of even a year probably before, just like messing around in the script stage and different timelines and stuff. And actually the version, so I wrote a version that was out of chronological order as we see the film now. And then through iterations and iterations, it kind of we shot it in chronological order. And then when we got into the edit, just like what you were saying, is finding those comedic beats, I think it was through that coming out of sequence again and flashing back and forward and stuff is kind of where we found the comedy again in it. It was something I was really keen on from the beginning is to like have big tonal shifts, and it was probably the thing that was the most scary to do, or at least like it was like tough to try and like change the tone. And honestly, really didn't know if it was going to work at all until we screened it for the first time, because you watch it in rooms with like one or two people, and that can be so different to watching it in a big room that's like got lots of people. So yeah, it was a little bit of just hoping, but I knew I thought, for my opinion, we had really good performances, and I felt like that would come. But yeah, it was huge just kind of chopping it up. We had to lose a good few scenes. So our first cut ended up being like nearly like 29 minutes, which was it was only like a 14-page script, but there was just like maybe like what Sophie said as well. I suppose my instinct would maybe just be to linger a bit more and be in on scenes and let them breathe. So we ended up with like a huge first assembly. And then it was this big process of just chopping, chopping, chopping.
That is a
And
lot of darlings to murder. Like
yeah,
a
and like
lot. But it's tight, and there's a kind of a quickness to it and a flow. So well done.
oh, thank you very much. Yeah, and it was tough because obviously I think it's like lensed so beautifully by Albert Hui, and amazing production design, as you said, from Orla Riley, and then the performances I'm just like blown away by. So yeah, I mean, I maybe like have a director's cut version where everyone can just see all the wonderful stuff that people did that unfortunately has to go. But yeah, glad we got it down to the length we did, and I think, as you say, hopefully it doesn't feel like 16 minutes. I think so. Yeah.
No.
I was just wondering who's the composer on Bunker Baby, because I really like the way I like the opening of the film, and the way, like, I was just watching it thinking if this had different music it would be so different, and like
Abs
the tonal shifts that you were going for really work with the music, I think, where like you're watching this like really brightly lit like happy clappy baby shower scene, but then the music is so ominous, and you're like it really highlights like the basic sinisterness of the baby shower as a concept,
mm.
which I really dig.
Brilliant. Well, glad that works. And amazing composer Edward O'Mahony is who's responsible for that. It's my second time working with Ed, thankfully. But as I was saying, kind of initially, he was like one of the first people I showed it to, like a year before we ever even like thought about actually making it happen. So he'd been like heavily involved in the process just as a good friend, where like he's incredibly narratively intuitive as a composer. Like he approaches the work really thinking about story, and those sort of things are the most things we talk about more so than like the actual quality of the music until much later down the line. So yeah, he just really got, I think, what we were going for and understood the tone and was kind of there through the various iterations, and he did a really, really good job. And I think it marries really well to some of the sound design that we got done from Folding Waves, who just did a really good job of kind of like, yeah, meshing in between in Ed's lovely score and these sort of ominous sounds and stuff. And yeah, it was a huge driver of the tone shift. He actually was the one who picked out the Julie Andrews song for us as well, which makes a little appearance in the end of the baby shower scene. So yeah, couldn't have got there without him.
The sound mix is exceptionally good. I love how you kind of like distort as people are delivering information to show perspective. And I think that
Mm,
works really well. And it's funny, do you know, like, because you're really
yeah,
seeing it from his like tortured mind in a way. And it like, yeah, it adds to the kind of humor when we're just watching people's reactions and not
absolutely.
focusing on what they're saying.
POV was such a hard thing because really wanted balance like between both of them as best we could. I mean, it's from one person's perspective, but really didn't want it to not, have different like as close to balance as we could have. So yeah, it was great to use the sound for, as you say, just to kind of put us in one person's perspective or the other, or yeah, I think it's just a little nod to the audience to be like, okay, this is kind of funny or something. So yeah, we're delighted with the sound mix as well.
My question for Connor, how was the casting of Theo? Like the actor that you selected has such striking eyes that I couldn't like get my eyes out of it, like, and it just added more element of being on the edge of my seat.
Yeah.
So I just want to know how was your procedure and what kind of element that you wanted into selecting the perfect hero in your mind.
Yeah, it was tough. I mean, it was like we got a list. I was really thankful to work with Shauna Griffith, the casting director. It was my first time working with a casting director. I'd previously done all my own casting and stuff, so it was like scary but amazing to kind of bring someone else in. And Sean and her team kind of put together like lists of people for each different character, and I think she really got what we were going for as well, and a huge ambition. But Theo specifically is played by Dermot Noyes, amazing actor. And I'd like seen Dermot in a short film called Wren Boys before. It's on Disney Plus if anyone's wants to see it. He's an unbelievable performance in it, and just that like the intensity in that and the naturalism is what really kind of drew me towards him. We didn't audition like any of our leads. It was all just like based on knowing their work previously and just conversations and stuff. I'm just like too awkward to audition people as well. I wouldn't know what to do myself. So we just like knew Dermot was like the guy just based on his previous work and a conversation. And I think he just really got it straight away. But yeah, I think his performance is amazing. He's bodying so much and saying so little, and like his stunt work's amazing. His intensity, yeah, he's a dream to work with.
Thank you.
No problem.
Will I free up everyone because I think we have gone more over than we've ever gone over before. I'm so sorry. It was too interesting. Your films are there's too much to talk about.
Interesting.
Just congratulations to everyone,
Yeah,
especially
congratulations,
the first
everybody.
timers.
Thank
Like,
you.
geez, I wasn't making stuff that good when I was starting out. So keep her lit,
Thank
and
you
I
so
love
much.
the how much everyone put into them, and Táine as well. The world is so lush and everything. So congrats everyone.
Oh, same,
Thank you so
Conor, to
much.
yours. Yeah, thanks a million. Thank you.
So I was just wondering if everybody could let me know when your screenings are on.
So for me and Fatoumata, our screening is the National Talent Academy's Shorts, which is on February 21st at 2:30 p.m. in the beautiful Lighthouse Cinema in Smithfield.
For Bunker Baby, it's DIFF Shorts, The Deadliest of All Things, on 24th of February at 3 o'clock in the Lighthouse.
And ours is on Wednesday, the 26th in the Lighthouse at 1:30, and it's Shut Your Eyes and See is the one we're part of.
Oh, gorgeous. Oh, well, look, that's amazing. There's like a brilliant lineup at DIFF this year as well. They've just some brilliant premieres, Irish premieres, international classic films, guest speakers, talks, and so much kind of networking and getting to meet people. So, and I think the best thing about screenings like this is if you go, like, sure, I'm sure people will be up shaking your hand and chatting to you afterwards and like learning a bit more in person. Thanks so
Yeah.
much for chatting with us.
Yeah,
Thank
same.
you.
Thanks
Thank
so
you
much.
so much.
And thank you so much for listening. So make sure to never miss another podcast and subscribe to our newsletter over at filmireland.ie.